it's like cheap therapy. You know, I can buy junk metal and I can go get a $40 fill up on my gas and sit out here in the garage and I can weld stuff together, and by the time I'm done I feel like $1,000,000. And if nobody else gets to share in that, it would be enough. But then I get to do, I get to sit and listen, and I get like, I have to leave sometimes hearing people talk, because like people get this, they can feel exactly what I put into it by just looking at it. And you know, that's emotional. That's artists a lot of artists just put it out there. They put their vulnerabilities, their love, their hate, their anger, all of it is just out there for everybody to see. And it's like, you know, I love it because there are people that there are people that are just like me that are lost and gone. And they'll never get to feel that. They'll never get to share that. They'll never get to live in that space of something beautiful happening in their life. They disappear, they vanish. And a lot of people, and I think a lot of artists, they're stuck in that emotional turmoil that kind of goes on, and I think if they can turn it right and they can do what I do with it, they get rid of it. It gives them their center, it grounds them, and I can go out into the world and I can open doors for people, and I can communicate with people, and I can, you know, buy a guy a cup of coffee or whatever, even just the little stuff, because of dealing with my own crap, and dealing with life's impossibilities that we find a way to conquer.
I read it somewhere, you don't really have any formal educational background as far as art. Would you consider anyone your mentor that's kind of led you in this direction?
Tom Lee was like that. Tom Lee was, if you could get in to his personal world, he'd give it to you. You know, if you go into a law firm, unless there's money involved, nobody's going to help you. You know, it's like sink or swim. And I think that's one thing I really like about the art world, is that it's such a positive place. Tom knew that there was creativity in me, and he did everything he could to help me get it out. You know, I went through all kinds of stuff. He introduced me to Jim Truffaut, which is the guy that I apprenticed under doing stained glass, and did that, loved it, wound up not liking it as much and moving on to something else. And I did photography because it was what I was familiar with. I was running Tom's darkroom and working on his cameras and all the stuff that goes along with it. So it was pretty easy to kind of say, well, I want to try photography. And I went on a trip with him to New Mexico, and I saw a guy that was selling, you know, scrap metal stuff on the side of the road, and it was horrible. You know, I mean, I hate to say that because I don't want to downplay anybody doing their creative thing, but you know, he's selling metal scrap stuff on the side of the road that was just these very robotic, repetitive, stiff figures, and there was no life, there was no movement. And I thought I could, you know, figure something out that was a little better than that. And so I just started kind of playing with metal and I always liked design and lines and movement and the way things kind of went together. I studied anatomy a long time ago, and it just kind of translated into being able to form body language into metal and bring it to life, to where it literally you feel. I've had people say, I feel bad for the sculpture. Like, I want to pick it up and hug it because I feel so bad for it, you know? It's so lonely, you know? And it's like, that's what I want, you know? And that's what I feel like Tom kind of inspired that in me, because Tom was in a wheelchair. Tom was a guy that if you saw him on the street, you wouldn't think twice about how horrible it must be for him to be in a wheelchair. But at the same time, once you got to know him, it's like, you know, this guy's got photographs in the state capitol. He's got photographs all over the world. He's got a book. You know, he's accomplished all these things that people with complete working bodies can't even touch. And that alone was inspiration to go do something.